Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk. And let's talk what we're doing for Women's Month. We have a very, very special guest. Glad she could join us. Um, every year, what we try to do on the show is to highlight women and some of the remarkable things that a lot of our women are doing in our community and some of the great work. So tonight we have Ameerah Shabazz Bilal.
Hey, hey, hey.
What's going on?
Hey, everything's going and everything. Happy Women's History, happy history, happy just knowing about yourself and getting to know others. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So Amira, no, what would you like me to call you? Amira?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay. Amira, give us some background about who you are.
Okay, so first and foremost, I am Ameerah Shabazz Bilal. I am a mother, a teacher, a wife. I am originally from Newark, New Jersey. Obviously, I'm Muslim. I am the founder and facilitator of an international poetry platform called When Women Speak. I am the co-founder and facilitator of another platform called When People Speak. I'm an author, I'm an illustrator, and I'm also hopefully a motivator and a muse to most women out there in this creative space of poetry. Oh, I didn't need to mean to leave out that I'm also a photographer by right as well.
Yeah, I noticed one of the things I noticed you take some very interesting pictures. I noticed that from your page. You really sit back and allow people to uh some of the pictures that you take of nature.
Hmm.
I noticed it's a look that most photographers are able to get across to the audience that you have.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, when did Amira, this young lady, fall in love with poetry?
It's a strange thing. I've been a teacher for many, many years at this point, and I facilitated a youth poetry group for many years, youth performances, directed and produced that for our middle age middle school students. Um, but I was a writer, not so much as a poet. And I just one day figured that writing poetry was so much quicker than getting that novel done that's still not done. And since I had the experience of working with children in poetry by being a teacher and also a facilitator of poetry groups, I started out, in that fashion, visiting the poetry spots around Newark, just being interested in the power of how these people would get on stage and bear everything to the audience, and very nervous about my own inability to be that transparent, but yet still wanting to have a story to tell people. So initially, I started poetry about children and lives of children and parents in our community, in our school communities, that weren't also always the stories that people wanted to hear. So they were the nitty gritty types of things that a teacher encounters from day to day, heart wrenching, heart grabbing stories. And they were like really mini monologues. And that's how I started with poetry, just talking about the children and their lives and what we as teachers face on a daily.
Well, as we, you know, when you said you were a teacher, I didn't think about asking you a bunch of questions about teaching, but we're definitely going to get into tying how teaching. Have you, as a teacher, do you think that you were able to become a better teacher with poetry?
Um, for me, poetry wasn't about the teaching experience. Poetry for me and with the children was about getting that inner voice out there, like relaying a message, telling about a situation that wasn't just one person's situation, but many people's situation, situations and things that people may have a hard time talking about. But when you hear someone else speak about it, you can definitely relate to it. For instance, we come from a generation now, or we came through a generation now, of people that lived through the 80s and the crack pandemic in our cities. And what was left over from that pandemic were extended families, were people who were raising children that weren't their children because of the crack that their parents may have given their lives to. And so that might be difficult for some child to say, what does it feel like being the child of a crack addict? And what does it feel like being the parent trying to constantly get yourself together, but you have this habit? What does that feel? What does that look like? So the original poems, the ones that I started sharing anyway, were about those types of things. Like it was
Ooh.
very hard to be. I wasn't planning on sharing those today, but I can share at least. I'll share my favorite. I have a couple of them, so I'll share
I
those.
mean, I mean, you know, like you said, when you're listening to this type of work, and people are voicing how they feel in the trauma that they're going through or went through. I know as an educator, it must have been a lot. Like, okay, I wasn't ready for this, but I was expecting you as a young artist, a child, to go there, but you went there, and I'm quite sure you have seen some very very
Yes.
interesting work.
Um, Everything is a story. Every last little life that I encounter, um, some of the poetry that I've written about are combinations of people. They may seem like I'm talking about one person, but I'm actually talking about a collective group of people that have had similar or the same experiences. Um, some of the poems are not pretty endings. Um, it's just to tell people that there is a real struggle out here just trying to be young and just be growed up and come out of here maybe not as scathed as my parents came out, and it's difficult for them, and it's a side that lots of people don't have any empathy for. It's like if they come to school and they're acting up, they acting up. But do you know why they're acting up?
Mm,
Do you have, I mean, it's hard to say, can I take the time to find out why they're acting up? Because I'm a human as well. But there's a reason. Does anybody take time to find out? You know, just as a side note, right now, one of my kids, I've got several grade levels now. I've been in here long enough, but I found out just not recently that one of my children that he couldn't read. He was in the fifth grade. He couldn't read, but he could memorize the heck out of something,
mm,
make you think that he could read.
okay.
And it wasn't until I saw the young man hold the book upside down and read as if he were reading that I realized that he could not read at all. He had just memorized it. But he had other
Oh,
good characteristics. He was a leader because his memory was so sharp. He could answer questions. He just never couldn't read. His home life was horrible. Fast forward through, he joined the poetry group, did very well in poetry, performed at NJPAC. Um, Fast forward to 2022, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, murdered somebody. And
wow.
like, it's, we're only, as a teacher, we're only in their lives a short period of time. But I like to say that that time that he was with me, he felt loved, he felt nurtured, he felt like somebody found his talent. I can't read, Miss Shabazz, but I could do this poetry. And I still look at his tapes and I'm like, how could they have missed this for 11 years of this boy's life? He couldn't read.
Wow.
So, you
Wow.
know, something like
It's
that.
it's amazing that his mind, you know, the memory thing is not easy to memorize,
Mm-mm.
and his mind was so keen and sharp in some area, and you know, not saying that his life is over, but it's amazing, like you said, that he slipped through the cracks, and maybe he could have been one of quote unquote our bright ones and didn't have to go that route to probably get to his destination of really being an intelligent man. Whatever path happens after that situation,
Well,
that's
wrong. He was very intelligent.
yeah, and you see that so much in our inner cities.
It was just he had too many battles, and his home life was horrible, surroundings horrible, and he had to come through that jungle every single day. I mean, I remember one time I gave him a part in a play, and he was so excited about having this part in the play. He memorized, he was doing very well, and he was late for school the day of the play.
Mm.
Broke his heart. And when I found out the reason he was late, his mother stopped him from coming on purpose. On purpose. So, yeah, these are the types of things. So we were talking about how did I start? So we,
No, it's just amazing. Like I said, when you're dealing with you're a teacher, you're a mother, and you have that natural instinct to help, to care, to nurture,
yeah,
um, and you're using you've the poetry is like you're getting them to really explain and be artistic, and it's I think that's an amazing thing. Um,
mm.
so,
So yeah,
but,
I
but,
really
let- but, but let's talk about you.
okay.
Tell us how are you? How is the poetry scene in Newark? I don't think a lot of people that's outside of Newark really understand how the poetry scene is in Newark, New Jersey.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge, and it's currently evolving uh, from the effects of COVID, and becoming a whole new thing. It was going through a renaissance of a beautiful, all of Newark is going through a beautiful artistic renaissance right now. There are artists, there are poets, there are storytellers, there are musicians, there are singers, all types of black, brown creatives. The poetry scene is alive. Before COVID, there were multiple venues throughout you actually needed a calendar to see which place was having what. And if you were the facilitator, you didn't want to overlap anyone. So you wanted to know who was having a show on what day so you can plan your day. Since COVID, lots of us went virtual. I mean, when Women Speak, which is my platform of all female poets, we actually grew and extended ourselves. We became into an international platform during COVID, but it came out of Newark, out of the Newark. The first space that we actually started with our poetry as women, as a women's group, was the Cry Out Cave in Newark, and we moved from the Cry Out Cave to the Source of Knowledge bookstore on Broad Street, which is the oldest Black-owned bookstore in the city. And we boast about being all women poet group, all women audience, all women vendors at a women's own venue. It was powerful. It was fire. But we weren't alone. You have other groups like Evolu Culture. You have Mia X. She does poetry, writing. She's trying to collaborate now to get people together to build her anthology. You have people like I don't want to start naming names because I will definitely forget some people, but like there was poetry for the public at the Newark Library. There was Raz Haru. He had a writing words and rhythm. There's so many. So I would encourage anybody that's interested in not just Newark, but New Jersey poetry. There's a New Jersey poetry event calendar that is organized and maintained by my co-facilitator of When People Speak, James Ellerby, where you can find that. Just search that on Facebook, and it has a list, a gigantic list of poetry in our area, up and down New Jersey, not just Newark, everywhere. So I
Wow.
don't know if I answered the question because I just went off on and on and on, but it's very much alive. If you've noticed, they had a big show at NJPAC a few
Hmm.
months back, and they selected two local poets, which was phenomenal. Most Def, and like people like that were on the stage with two Treasure Bourdet and
I know Treasure.
yeah, Treasure is she performs under the umbrella of When Women Speak, but she's a powerhouse in her own right. She is the president of Evolute Culture Poetry, um, and her and Sean Battle were on the stage at NJPAC. It was the most amazing thing. They just had a PBS documentary about poetry renaissance. Most of the poets that were featured in that were from South Jersey, but they did have a couple of North Jersey poets in it. But you want to talk about poetry being alive, New Jersey? Yeah, we're hitting it.
Let me ask you. Why? I know that you performed at Lincoln Park Music Festival, and for those in the chat or those that may watch the rebroadcast, for that area, the Lincoln Park Music Festival is the place to be in the summer. It's a 3 day event, and if you are able to perform there, that's like a I made it moment. So explain to us your experience performing during that.
Okay, so it was the Lincoln Park Poetry Festival, and I actually was invited by Sean Battle from Evolute Culture, and it was a taped experience for Lincoln Park because we were in COVID.
Okay.
So yeah, but it was powerful nonetheless. Um, yes, I was very proud to be a part of that group, that collective group, asked to perform for Lincoln Park Music Festival, but that was not the highlight. The highlight of my life was actually places like NJ New Brunswick Pack, Carteret Pack, just being on those illustrious stages. Just who I am as a person, that I'm second guessing myself all the time. My friends
So
will tell
you pinched yourself when you got on stage.
I went through so many anxiety attacks that it was like a blur. So, it's just I'm here. I have to tell myself that I'm here to tell a story. I can't get into the competitiveness of poetry slams. I'm not that kind of poet. I'm more of a griot style poet, and I enjoy when somebody could connect to my stories. But when you ask me about Lincoln Park, I think the most exciting venue this year was at Yale University,
Mm,
where my guru of poetry invited me to come up and share my poetry at Yale in Goma Hill. I mean,
wow.
that brother is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. And so when he said, Ameerah, you could do it, I was like, I can? Okay. I knew very well that slamming was not me, but I was like, if Ngoma tell me that I could come, any stage I step on, I belong there. So I'm gonna get on that stage. Um, yeah, so that was very exciting and I felt very honored to be a part of that. And it's just been that kind of a whirlwind experience. As far up as Connecticut, getting on the Hartford Lit program and performing up there in Connecticut, that was, it's kind of cool.
So I'm gonna ask you a couple interesting questions. Poetry isn't poetry unless it's spoken word. What does that mean?
So that you have to put the emphasis in the right place because I get in trouble when people say, "What do you mean poetry isn't poetry unless it's spoken word?" There's poetry and then there's spoken word because I'm of that vein, and I'll tell you why in a second. So the correct way to say that mantra is poetry isn't poetry unless it's spoken
Mm,
word. So like you confirming when you say word, but it's like a play on words. So it makes no sense to write poetry if you're going to keep it to yourself. So it's not poetry unless you're speaking it, unless you're giving that to someone else, or you're allowing someone else to share that, or you're allowing someone else to interact with that, or combine their story, or walk away with something that you have taught them, revealed to them, or allowed them, or given them the keys to freedom, because that's their story too. So,
Let
yeah.
me top five favorite poets.
Oh my God, that's a hard one. Do it have to be like classical ones? Can it be
I
people that?
mean, it could be anybody. They could be past. They could be living. Just five that you would somebody maybe you may want to share the stage on that you never got an opportunity to.
Mm,
Just five of the most random. Who do you?
number one, living. I have to say it. I love Ngoma Hill. Number two, not living. Claude McKay. Number three, Dunbar. Number four, Sonia Sanchez. And I don't want to get in trouble with number five because I got a bunch of people that if I give you number five, I will definitely be like, oh man, this is girl Aja Monet. Oh my God, she's fire. I have never met her. She's on what you call it on YouTube. There's so many. There's so many. So yeah, I'm gonna keep quiet on anybody else because I'm gonna leave somebody out and just be miserable that I
Do you,
forgot.
okay. Do you think that let's say let me see how I can word this question. How far do you think poetry can go, or take you on a personal journey? How far do you think it could take you?
Well, I know that it's already taken me on a personal journey because I never really thought that I could do it. I never thought that I could be on the stage with people, um, like my one of my favorites, Radi, a girl like that, young lady like that. Be on the stage with Dr. Helena Lewis, like be on the stage with some of these fabulous women poets and hold my own. Although our styles are not the same, I just never thought, never dreamt that somebody would even find my stories interesting, you know, find my style of presentation when you're hanging around people like Magali Words and Zima Hutchins, and I'm throwing these people's names out here because I'm in awe. I rescue to lean. Oh, I can't even stop because I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm going to stop talking about that. But
No, what you're doing, what you're doing, and I can tell that it's natural. Is you're giving people their flowers. I mean, I think that in our communities we tend to not do it enough. But when you're on this type of platform, and it's like you love poetry, so you love poets.
Mhm.
And I think it's totally natural and totally honest with your you don't want to miss out on nobody, but like, yo, when you think about it, and then you probably are placing yourself in different settings, and like, yo, I remember this poet who was dope and they really did this, and so I understand.
It's so many. It's so many. I would be like remiss not to mention John Gavin White. Like every time I hear him perform, I got to get my notebook out and revisit his words because I'm like taken away, and it's like, okay, what did that mean? All right, yeah, I got that one. It's just
Ameerah, me and John Gavin White grew up together.
really well. He's,
um
he's one of my favorites.
John is, I'm a little older than John, but one thing I will say is his poetry, he does take you on a word journey.
Oh
um
yeah, deep.
and he reminds me when I listen to him, and I always tell him, he reminds me of one of the old heads talking, as we would say, giving you game. He has an old spirit, and he comes off very well.
And you gotta listen. You gotta listen because he's dropping them jewels on a regular. I don't think there's anybody else out there like that. But the biggest treat for me in all of this is always I'm always second guessing. I'm always thinking I shouldn't be there, I shouldn't be there. But when somebody inboxes me and says, wow, that was pretty cool. Like, like John will do that sometimes. Assassin will do that. These guys have been out here. Helena, they'll inbox you and say that, your words. And at the moment when I'm thinking, that was so bad. And somebody's like, oh, wow, wow. That really makes a difference, in anybody's life. And this is why I started When Women Speak, because there are so many people out there.
Explain that platform and the genesis of it.
Okay, absolutely. I was prepared to even read um, what it's about, but I'm just going to say from memory and heart what When Women Speak is about. When Women Speak is a platform that is, as I mentioned earlier, international. We have women as far away as India, as far north as Toronto, um, France, as far west as California, as far south as Jamaica, all up and down the East Coast. So it has become an international nurturing free space for women, poets, and creators. So we don't just have poets, we have musicians, we have singers. Yes, the majority of us are poets, but it is totally inclusive. Um, and it's a space where women can share their voice, they can find their voice, they can get affirmation as much as many of us need it. They can get the nurturing that they need. They can grow there. They can get the support. And it tends to be a space that once a person steps out there with us, they're like, oh, I'm free. Oh, this platform originated, as I said, we were once, well, in the beginning, we were out of the Cryout Cave in Newark, and they had poetry there all the time. And I was a frequent supporter of them because I liked what Mayowa was doing at that time. He'd had this platform where he was God, God sent, and he didn't really allow people to use profanity. I'm not trying to censor anybody. Don't get me wrong, but you do you, because I'm definitely gonna do me. Um, but I'm just telling you why I wanted to be in that environment, because I wanted to do poetry, but I don't want to do certain things that would take me outside of what my faith is and what I represent as a Muslim woman. So therefore, I was very frugal and very strategic about where I was going to go. So I had a friend that I wanted her to come out because I had remembered that she had done a monologue of Jane Pittman at one point,
Mm.
and a few years back. And as life would have it, we have children, we have husbands, we grow and get older, blah blah blah. So I said to her, I said, "Look, I want you to come on to the platform, and I want you to share your poetry. Would you mind sharing it?" So she's like, "Well, I don't perform in front of men."
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, I'm this Muslim out here and I'm doing this poetry. I'll perform in front of anybody. Your dog, he ready? The cat?" Um, but I wanted her to be a part of the platform. And the reason I wanted her to be a part of the platform was because she needed that uplift at that time. And I knew how powerful she was, but her own children didn't even know. So I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This one night right here, I'm going to close it to men. There's going to be just women in the audience and just women performers. Would you come then? So she said, sure, I'll come. When I tell you we did that show, there was standing room only. There was no room for people to sit. There was no room for people to even stand. There was no parking. And I took a deep breath and I was like, well, wait a minute. What is this telling me? That women needed this? I kid you not. It was packed. And we used to do it once a month, and every month we got the same response. It was so bad that the other poetry venues, the guys, used to try to sneak in to see, well, what them women over there talking about? They bashing men. What's going on? And When Women Speak, try to send their little spies in to see what's happening. But we've been going strong ever since. And what I found out was that it didn't matter what your faith was, didn't matter what your religion or what your ethnicity or what your values were. Women were like thirsty for their own spot, free of the testosterone that men bring in and crowd up and take over. And so we've been with Women Speak ever since. Very
They come and take over, huh?
take it over. And like women feel apprehensive about getting up there bearing their soul when it's these
Yeah.
key people in the audience. And sometimes we just need to hear another woman's side of it.
Hmm.
And yeah, what's she talking about? That's it. So
Yeah.
that's how When Women Speak started, and we've been out here. It's changed a little bit since COVID. COVID, we were functioning once a month virtually. Um, Now I'm not sure what When Women Speak is going to evolve into, because now people hire us. So where I had my own venue uh, monthly or bi-monthly, now people are calling saying, can When Women speak here? Can When Women Speak come here? Like we were just at the Newark Library for a national Greater Newark Women's Conference this weekend. And so we've evolved into that. We will have our own space. We've been offered a space. I just need to figure out what is that going to look like post COVID. What should it look like? Because we should be growing and evolving into something.
I
But
mean,
that's
you. I mean, I will tell you, for an interviewer or somebody who's having a chat with you, you definitely know how to segue perfect, because it's Women's Month, and this is why you're here, and this is what how you caught my eye, and then thinking of When Women Speak, and and I know that the holiday thing could be a little tricky for those of us that have the Muslim faith.
Mhm.
Um, Women's Month, and women empowerment, and how would you describe that? Because I know it could be subjective for each person. How would you internalize that?
It's getting really tricky out here. I'm telling you. First of all, when women speak, when they see me, they want to know, is it a Muslim group?
Mm,
And the answer is no. It's a group for women. Having said that, it's all inclusive, which means if you are a woman or you were born a woman, and I'm confused with the pronouns, very respectful but confused nonetheless, you can be in When Women Speak. So it's got that kind of element
yeah,
as
yeah,
well. It's a sign of the times. It's where we are. Um, if I would be going against what I said our objective is if I turn people away because they now I don't know what it is. I'm just saying it's
yeah.
when women speak. I'm not changing the name of the group, but I think you
Y-
understand what I'm.
in that I know, and as somebody who shared a religion with you and billions of other people, I think that a lot of people may not realize how tolerant and understanding you are, um, and you're never gonna judge anybody, definitely. And it's like, don't look at your garb and be like, you think you know what's going on in my head. What's going on in my head is I have no judgment. This is like you created a safe place.
It's a safe place. I
Yeah,
have no judgment because that is not my place. Um, I would be just as guilty as anyone that mistreats me because I wear hijab, and it has happened several times. And I'm not going to tell you how we live, you know. Um, and I want to be true to what I said this was, and that's what I'm doing, and that's all I'm going to say on that subject. But it being Women's History Month, we've always done a special something for Women's History Month since the group was established. And for this Women's History Month, we've done many special somethings. So it wasn't one thing that was just When Women Speak, because as I said, after COVID, we've been asked to speak at many places. So we have like every weekend we're appearing somewhere. And when I say we, it's not always the same women, because when women speak, it's a huge platform. So you may see four people this weekend. You will see four different people the next weekend, and you will see even different people the following weekend, unless you request somebody specifically. We have people who are doctors high up in academia. We have poet laureates as a part of When Women Speak. We have
You froze for a second. Ah, Ameerah froze for a second, you guys. Just okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
got you back.
Yeah, technology. I was that. So it is very much the most inclusive group that I've ever been a part of, and we've been sharing our words, our stories, our hearts this whole month for Women's History Month, and we plan to continue to do that because um, it's what we're about, and it's not limited to this month.
Yeah, I think that it is remarkable. And I always, one of the things as I'm starting to notice, I have a really, really disdain for this gender war that goes on between men and women.
Mhm.
So I think that sometimes when I hear of, or most people when they hear of organizations, oh, this is for women, like you said, uh, some people don't want the male testosterone around, and then you just get, it's like, oh, they having a bashing ceremony. No, it's not that. It's just that sometimes as women, you guys know what you guys go through. Um, and a lot of times as men, we don't know what you guys go through. We may
Absolutely.
hear it, we may think we know, or from our mates or whatever, but we don't know. We don't know how it is to be a mom, how it is to be. You got to wear all these hats. We got hats, but you guys got to wear all these hats as well. So I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing, and it's
It's a
funny
very
how
important group.
it's your group is evolving, and it's like I can see it being really, really big and doing some amazing things through poetry.
It's so amazing, and I'm meeting so many different people. Um, I was on a women's platform today in India.
Mm,
This little girl from Newark, just poetry. So, how far can it travel to the ends of the world?
amazing. Well, Mira, do you have any final thoughts before we close?
Um, Final thoughts are, if if you are um, feeling in your heart that you might want to try sharing parts of yourself through poetry, you are most welcome to come on to the When Women Speak platform. You can find us on Facebook if you're a woman. Uh, I also have When People Speak, which is a mixed platform. You can come on to either one and give yourself a chance to try it. They're all different kinds of poets. And so don't get caught up in, oh, I got to do a slam. No, mm-mm. You can do exactly what you feel you can do. They're all different ones, and none of us sound the same. None of us are the same because we aren't the same. So I
Great,
guess those are my closing remarks.
great. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and it has truly been a pleasure. And I
Oh,
look forward. Go ahead.
can I talk about the book?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
And I
actually,
apologize for that. I should have brought the book up.
it's okay. Actually, if I don't know how it, okay, this is this way, this way. So I got to cover my face for a minute.
You know what? You know what I call that? You got a book. You got a reader's book in your hand. I
What do
know
you mean?
that's your book. I know that's your book, but that's a reader's book. You see all them notes and place cards and
Yep, yep. So that's the When Women Speak anthology. And it is an anthology of some of the women that are on this platform. That book encompasses over 60 poets, 60 women
wow.
poets. Their bios are in the back, so you get to read a little bit about the women. It's beautifully illustrated because I was the photographer. I took the pictures for the anthology. The cover, as you can see, if you happen to get the book, the cover is of a woman, and if you look closely, it's like a photo montage. It's like 100 pictures of other women inside of the woman's face. So it's a very beautiful book. You can find it on Amazon. It's called When Women Speak, the anthology by Ameerah Shabazz Bilal. Again, it's an anthology of different women.
Is it only on Amazon? Is it that source of knowledge as well?
It's at Source of Knowledge, on Broad Street in Newark as well. And I should have been prepared with the dates. I think I do have the dates. We'll be at the Source of Knowledge to actually give autographs if you're so inclined to join us there. I'm looking up the date. That's why my eyes are distracted a little bit. But we'll be at the Source of Knowledge on April 8th, giving out autographs or signing copies. All Not all of us, a lot of the women that are in that particular book will be there that day. So you can get your copy of When Women Speak, the anthology, either on Amazon, or you can go ahead to the Source of Knowledge. It is in that store. In addition to the anthology, when I talked earlier about myself, I talked about the stories of children. I'm also the author of Breathing Through Concrete. This is a tearjerker. So if you want to get stories about children and their lives and their parents in our community and the effects that some things have had on them, you would like to purchase a copy of Breathing Through Concrete, also on Amazon, also at the Source of Knowledge. So that's it.
Yeah. Source of knowledge has a special place. Anybody that's from that area, source of knowledge has a special place in everybody's heart. That's like for the artist and for the book reader. That's like home base. You gotta touch through there when you come to town. If you live out of town, you gotta you gotta at least go through and just walk through. And Patricia and Nigel,
It's
they'll
the
say
only
something to you.
bookstore in Newark.
Yeah, yeah, and I
So
think people don't realize, like, it is no more of the quote unquote mom and pop shops. Even Barnes and Nobles are closing down due to Amazon. A lot of the Barnes and Nobles have closed, so that is a bookstore that, even if they don't have the book, they will work and get the book for you.
they
And
family. They
yeah,
families. You guys got to support that.
yeah, yeah. So we will definitely. I know that Patricia will probably put the flyer out for you guys to be down there if
Hmm.
I see it, or if you get the flyer, Mirror, you send it to me and I'll post it on all my socials as well. That you
Definitely.
guys are going to be down there, and really appreciate you joining us tonight.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're going to be at the Source of Knowledge on April 8th. We're going to be at Evolute Culture, which is another poetry spot. This is all for uh, women's history. I'm just going to give you the date for Evolute. April 15th, that's Poetry Month. April 15th, April 8th, and those are the dates.
Great. With that, appreciate everybody for joining us. Amira, stay on, and everybody have a blessed night.